Did you know that a Polish officer deliberately got himself arrested by Nazis to infiltrate Auschwitz? In 1940, Witold Pilecki was living a quiet life as a cavalry officer when he made an impossible decision. He walked straight into a Nazi roundup in Warsaw, allowing himself to be captured and sent to the most feared concentration camp in history. For 3 years, he lived among the prisoners, witnessing horrors beyond imagination. He secretly organized resistance networks, smuggling detailed reports about mass executions and gas chambers to the outside world. Every day, he watched thousands of innocent people disappear into the crematoriums. The smell of burning bodies never left the air. In 1943, after documenting the systematic murder of over 1 million people, he finally escaped. His reports reached Allied command, but they dismissed them as exaggerated propaganda. Nobody believed the truth could be that horrific. He survived 3 years in hell, only to be executed by Communist Poland in 1948. The man who risked everything to expose the Holocaust was killed by his own country. Did you know that one Nazi torturer lived freely for 40 years after personally torturing over 4,000 people? Klaus Barbie was known as the Butcher of Lyon during World War II. In 1943, he ran the Gestapo headquarters in Lyon, France, where screams echoed through the basement daily. He looked like any ordinary SS officer, clean uniform, polite smile. But behind closed doors, he used electric shocks, water torture, and worse on French resistance fighters. His most famous victim was Jean Moulin, the resistance leader who died under his brutal interrogation. When the war ended, Barbie should have faced justice. Instead, American intelligence secretly helped him escape to Bolivia in 1951. For decades, families of his victims knew their loved one's torturer was living freely as a businessman. The CIA even recruited him for anti-communist operations, fully aware of his war crimes. He lived openly under his real name, Untouchable. Only in 1987 was he finally extradited to France and sentenced to life in prison. 40 years of freedom for the man who destroyed thousands of lives. Did you know one Soviet sniper killed over 200 Germans using pure psychological warfare? Vasily Zaitsev grew up hunting wolves in the Ural Mountains, learning patience that would later terrorize an entire army. In September 1942, he arrived at the Stalingrad hellscape with basic training and a standard rifle. But within weeks, he became the most feared man on the battlefield. Zaitsev didn't just shoot enemies, he studied them like prey, learning their routines, their habits, their weaknesses. He used decoy helmets to draw fire, revealing enemy positions before striking back with deadly precision. Sometimes he waited 3 days for a single perfect shot. His reputation grew so dangerous that Germany sent their best sniper instructor, Major Erwin Koenig, to hunt him down. For 3 days, they played a deadly game of hide-and-seek through bombed buildings and rubble. Koenig made one fatal mistake, a tiny glint of sunlight off his scope. Zaitsev spotted it instantly and fired. The hunter became the hunted, and Zaitsev's methods became Soviet doctrine forever. Did you know that a single reactor engineer saved Europe from becoming uninhabitable, but died horribly doing it? On April 26, 1986, Yelena Kornienko was working the night shift at Chernobyl Unit 4. She was running routine safety checks when the reactor test began. At 1:23 in the morning, everything went wrong. A massive explosion rocked the building, followed by an eerie blue flash of radiation. Yelena felt the invisible death rays tearing through her body instantly. But instead of running, she stayed at her post, manually operating the cooling systems. Within hours, her skin began burning from the inside out. Her hair fell out in clumps, and violent nausea overwhelmed her. She knew she was dying but kept working to prevent a complete meltdown. For days, she operated critical systems while radiation poisoned every cell in her body. Her sacrifice contained the disaster, but the radiation slowly destroyed her organs. She died 3 weeks later, having absorbed enough radiation to kill 10 people. Her actions prevented half of Europe from becoming a radioactive wasteland. Did you know that 5 men vanished into the mountains and survived for weeks before dying in the most mysterious way possible? On February 24, 1978, 5 developmentally disabled friends from Yuba County drove to watch a basketball game in Chico, California. Gary Mathias, Jack Madruga, Bill Sterling, Jack Hewitt, and Ted Wire lived simple, routine lives and rarely traveled far from home. They never made it to the game. Their car was found 70 miles off route, abandoned on a remote mountain road in freezing weather. The engine worked perfectly, but the keys were missing and windows were rolled down in sub-zero temperatures. Months later, searchers found their bodies scattered across the wilderness. Some had reached a remote Forest Service trailer stocked with food and supplies. Instead of staying put or heading back to safety, they had wandered deeper into the mountains. Forensic evidence showed they survived for weeks in brutal conditions before dying from exposure and starvation. The most disturbing question remains unanswered. What made them leave their car and walk toward certain death? Did you know that a Polish officer deliberately got himself arrested by Nazis to infiltrate Auschwitz? In 1940, Witold Pilecki was living a quiet life as a cavalry officer when he made an impossible decision. He walked straight into a Nazi roundup in Warsaw, allowing himself to be captured and sent to the most feared concentration camp in history. For 3 years, he lived among the prisoners, witnessing horrors beyond imagination. He secretly organized resistance networks, smuggling detailed reports about mass executions and gas chambers to the outside world. Every day, he watched thousands of innocent people disappear into the crematoriums. The smell of burning bodies never left the air. In 1943, after documenting the systematic murder of over 1 million people, he finally escaped. His reports reached Allied command, but they dismissed them as exaggerated propaganda. Nobody believed the truth could be that horrific. He survived 3 years in hell, only to be executed by Communist Poland in 1948. The man who risked everything to expose the Holocaust was killed by his own country. Did you know a cosmonaut flew to space knowing he would die, just to save his best friend? On April 23, 1967, Vladimir Komarov suited up for Soyuz 1. The spacecraft had 203 technical problems. Engineers begged officials to cancel the mission, but the Kremlin demanded the launch proceed for political reasons. Komarov knew refusing meant his backup pilot would fly instead, Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space. So he climbed aboard what he called his coffin. Within hours, everything went wrong. Solar panels failed, navigation systems died, communications cut out. Komarov calmly reported each failure to ground control, his voice steady despite knowing his fate. During re-entry, the main parachute tangled. The backup parachute failed too. The capsule plummeted like a meteor, spinning violently toward Earth. His final radio transmission was him cursing Soviet leadership for sending him to die. The impact created a smoking crater. His remains were so burned that only dental records could identify him. The Soviets covered up the disaster, but his sacrifice forced crucial design changes that saved future crews.